but you are there just, I'm going through cancer. I'm bald, whatever. That's just
Yeah,
almost just a fuck you to expectations. And I think it's something
totally.
that's really phenomenal, Alex.
Yeah, it's funny, like, on screen, of course, the night before one of our first shoot day, I didn't sleep, jet probably 2 hours just out of pure stress, and also, "What
Right.
am I doing? What if no one wants to see this?" And, what's the and now I'm hiring
Right.
all this crew, and you really to be an independent filmmaker, like, you really have to lean in, you have to pick a day, you have to hire people, you gotta pay them, you gotta
Yeah.
just show up and do the absolute best you can and keep on schedules. You can film as much as you can in a short amount of time, and it's incredibly stressful and incredibly rewarding.
Good day, filmmaker Alex Dvorak of the film Bad Survivor. Alex, how are you today?
I'm doing awesome. It's so great to be here. Thanks for having me.
I'm thrilled you're here. You must be looking forward to the film's premiere at Slamdance. And it's a fantastic film. It's a personal film. It's a story about cancer. It's a story about the making light of a really terrible situation. There's so many great things to talk about with it. But let's start first. Like, how did you decide to pick up a camera? Was it in line with documenting your journey with cancer, or did you know beforehand you were going to make films?
No, it was such a winding road to get here that I myself am shocked that I'm in LA, about to have this LA premiere of my own film. No one saw this coming, especially me. So I started my career in the fashion closet of 17 magazine as a fashion intern, and my goal was to go from fashion intern editor to editor in chief. That was always my goal since I was little. And then I watched this model behind the scenes. I was styling her for an editorial photo shoot, and I was newly in cancer remission. I was like 21. And I was like, I want to do what she's doing. I want to feel empowered. I want to be in my body. I want to be in front of the camera. That's like a smaller time frame. It's really now or never. And so I went for it. So I became model internationally, runways, New York Fashion Week, all the things. And acting, filmmaking was not even on the radar. And several years into modeling, while I was hiding my diagnosis and hiding my survivorship in so many ways, like I was still really unwell and mentally, physically, emotionally going to all these oncologists and doctor's appointments and just trying to get better and still in survival mode, really, but hiding it from anyone who knew,
Wow.
including my agents, friends, anyone in my new life in New York. I really wanted to distance myself from what I had been through and feel healthy and well. And that was
Uh-huh.
my coping mechanism. But at some point, it's just really difficult to live two lives. And so
Right.
I started writing and I just poured everything into journals the way I always had as a kid. And I realized, like, I want to write something. I want to put this out into the world. So I started writing op-eds and essays in places like Washington Post and HuffPost about what it is to be a young person going through this, and so
Right.
many emotions and dark thoughts and things that were really taboo that I couldn't just say to my loved ones around me who were doing
Right.
the absolute best they could, but in so many ways, like, really misunderstanding my journey, and I just wanted to come out and say it. So I did that, and so that's where my writing started. Then filmmaking was several years later. I was like, I wanting to feeling the desire to bring it to life on screen was really like the next step for me. Yeah, I went to when I got cancer, I was in college in LA and I had
Oh,
to drop out, went back to the East
Alex.
Coast to treatment. And so my friends at LMU had, no surprise, become really successful in the entertainment industry, one of which my friend Des was amazing and is an amazing TV writer and screenwriter. And he was like, I think this needs to be on screen. And so I've had amazing friends who have really encouraged me and showed me the ropes. I dove into screenwriting classes, filmmaking classes, and then just decided to go ahead and do it and stop asking for permission.
That's such a wild story. Do you feel like there's this missed opportunity of cancer and other survivors as young people? Is there two ways you can go with that? You can go one way, which is your way, like, fuck it, I'm gonna do whatever I want. And there's another way that's like maybe like more in a cocoon. Do you think there's more of these stories from these people who've survived things at a young age that
Yes.
people can tell?
Hard, yes. Gives me chills weirdly when you say it. The cocooning is so real. And
Right.
there's like, I myself have cocooned and then now found my voice again and now really genuinely want to talk about it in part for those who are still cocooned. There's certain,
Right.
I just think when we've been through something, it's important if you're in a position to say things out loud to go ahead and do that. And I think it helps show other people like, oh, okay, maybe I'm not so weird and maybe I'm not so whatever their insecurities are. I think it helps other people also live out loud. So yes, absolutely. I think something as hardcore as cancer that can just demolish your life in so many ways, and you have to really start from scratch. Cocooning is real, and you can absolutely lose your voice in the modern medical system. So I
Oh,
think it is important when someone's ready to start speaking up for yourself, start telling those stories. There's so many stories we haven't heard that I'm craving to hear myself.
and so that's a great segue into Bad Survivor. So it's the story of a sarcastic teen pushing back on the tropes of the normal cancer survivor. And it's phenomenal both in your range of playing it, like it jumps all over in a short film in a great way. And you also put it together. So how did you come upon that particular way to do it as sarcastic? Because you don't really see it that way. You see it as like this celebration of, yay, Alex beat cancer. And that's part of it. But you do it in a way that's unique and sarcastic that I think will connect more with younger people than, say, just like the normal tropes of the cancer survivor.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. There's something about the journey that really fascinates me that I like to dive into and want to continue diving into, which is what happens when you're told you're cancer free. You know,
Right.
what happens when the phone calls stop coming and the care packages stop coming and people are like, okay, she's good. And we just go back to normal life, but you're so not good. Nothing's
Right.
okay. And you're not okay, but you can't say it. And you sometimes, as cancer patients, go into wanting to help everyone else figure out how to deal with us being ill. It's a lot of figuring out everyone else's emotions and then you're cancer free, which is obviously ideal.
Right.
Obviously ideal, but at the same time, when you go through it as a young person and you're young and your doctors are telling you no, like you're actually going to be okay now, like long term, and you have only been thinking day to day, if not
Right.
genuinely hour to hour, how to survive. And so you're like, wait, so I don't have a long life, but this is life. But now I know what death is, and it's really a difficult thing to fathom. So, Bad Survivor, the short film, something I really wanted to show was like, she's a really shitty survivor. Like, she's just a bad survivor, the same way I was. Like, I wasn't doing cancer fundraisers and raising millions of dollars, so that would be so cool. And I wasn't wearing a cancer ribbon t-shirt, and I didn't really want to
Yeah.
tell anyone about it. And I wasn't angelic, and
Right.
so many depictions that we see on screen of especially like young cancer patients or survivors in my mind is
Exactly.
like really overly angelic or really over romanticized. I'm like, no
Right.
one fell in love with me when I was bald. Okay. Like kids run away screaming when they see you on the street. It's just a
Yeah.
really weird time. And while incredibly impressed while going through it, now looking back, so funny in so many ways. And that
Right.
is the dark humor that I love tapping into. And it's something that humor, while maybe some might find it surprising or unexpected, like childhood cancer isn't that funny. Like, why are we? It's hilarious to those of us who have been in it. It's fucking hilarious because it's messed up and wild how others react to us. And I really wanted to explore in the short film of Bad Survivor. Our main character speaks to camera. And
Right.
originally I wrote that as a voiceover. And I had an
Okay.
amazing filmmaker friend who was like, no, the voiceover's not going to do it. You
Smart.
gotta, let's think of something else. And we brainstormed like, oh, okay, wait, what if all the things in real life I couldn't say, and I was thinking in my head, all these sarcastic things, all these frustrating things that were happening to me, what if I could just actually say them out loud? So really, it's this weird form of therapy now, obviously going back situations that happen. So in Bad Survivor, the character of Alex named after me, because let's be honest, it's just me. I cast my family to play my family, and I'm talking to camera, saying a lot of things that really pissed me off. And it was really incredibly therapeutic and funny, and to me, really interesting. And I know I'm not the only one. There's a whole community of us who, when we're alone, and if I meet an entire total stranger who's had cancer, we end up in a corner of the room at the party, just us
Right.
talking, and we lean in and we say all the things that make us laugh. And it's usually things we don't feel comfortable saying to others because we don't want to make them feel bad. Like people are telling us we're brave and we're not fucking brave, but like we can laugh about it. And
Right.
so I thought to myself one day, like, all right, what if I just make this thing? What if I just tell everyone what we're whispering about in the corner? And so that's how Bad Survivor really came about.
And it should be wild to think about who's going to be there at Slamdance. It could be film professionals, obviously, but it could also be cancer survivors who want to talk with you about it and see a different way of thinking about the film.
It's absolutely true. So we had our world premiere at Big Apple Film Festival in Manhattan. And my absolute favorite part of this entire festival circuit process is the people who come up to me after the screenings, like the people who maybe were there to see a different short film or whatever, and they happen upon Bad Survivor, and they come up to me afterwards and they do that whisper thing. They go, "Oh my God, I had it too. And oh my God, I was too scared to tell anyone, any of my family members and any of my best friends that like, I didn't want to ring the cancer bell and I wasn't happy. And why were my doctors telling me to do that?" And I was like, wait, me too. And it's people of all ages. It's not just young adults and teens in treatment, although that is something I'm extremely like wanting to lean into and fascinated by. It's really people of all ages who have gone through this exact experience that none of us have seen yet on screen, a depiction of it that felt like it resonated with what we went through and resonated with our sense of humor. And one thing I really want to say that I find interesting, and I'm so curious how this was going to go at Slamdance, but like we mentioned before, that maybe laughing at like a bald girl on screen, like people get kind of uncomfortable, and it's kind of want to
Right.
see. I have a hard time watching myself on screen, but I really like seeing the audience and who reacts to what and what are
Right.
the rumbles in the room.
Oh,
And it's very funny because the first joke, everyone they tighten and they look at each. They literally look at each other and are we supposed to? Is it okay to laugh there? That was funny. By the second, I have 50% of the audience at the laughter. By the third, everyone relaxes and they're like, "Oh, the girl on camera, the girl on screen who's bald and has cancer is laughing at herself. We're allowed to now too." And they give themselves permission to laugh, which I find really joyful myself as a filmmaker to see other people enjoying it and um, loosening up a little bit and finding
right.
the humor. Because who knows, like maybe through this dark humor, we can have conversation, right? Maybe the people that come to me after the screenings that tell me that they're caregivers of their parents in treatment or children in treatment. And maybe they're like, "Oh, did my daughter feel that way too?" Maybe we can
Right.
have these conversations that were once taboo. That is really an important mission of mine through Bad Survivor and through this festival circuit.
It's so important. And it looks like the other cool thing you're doing with this, Alex, is you're going in a different direction. Like I can always imagine the parties that you'll go to and they'll be like, "Are you making a feature out of this?" You'll be asked that 100 times, but it looks like you're going a different way. You've got a novel, graphic novel coming out. You're looking to turn it into a series. What made you decide those two particular things versus, say, the normal route of an indie filmmaker like you would be like, "Oh, I'm making a feature of it."
Yeah, so it's interesting. The graphic novel route was unexpected. I grew up reading like Archie comics, but was never really into I never just it wasn't accessible to me, like the hardcore nerd culture of it all. But I did love comics. And I remember drawing comics as a kid, and I'm not an illustrator by any way, shape, or form. These artists are so talented, but I am by all means like the writer and creator of it. So the graphic novel came about largely because several years ago, with my friend that I mentioned earlier, who's an amazing TV writer and very successful in the industry, he and I were going out pitching a 1-hour TV series called Survivors, which was largely based on my cancer survivor support group, which was all young adults with fascinating stories. Actually, that's the moment that I realized, oh, everyone, we all do laugh about the same thing. We all feel the
Right.
same way about the cancer survivorship. And once we leave the hub, but the graphic novel came about because we were out pitching. And a lot of what I was hearing feedback from me was, if this were IP, I would take it. If this were IP, I'd feel more comfortable taking it. And I just thought, oh, shoot, but I don't have IP, but I have this brilliant pilot, and this pitch deck, and I'm ready. I know I'm ready. I know the story. It just is like screaming out of me to be told. So what can I do to build IP? And I was like, okay, this is the graphic novel, the sarcastic young adult cancer girl. To me, it's funny. To me, it's interesting. So I wrote a graphic novel, a
That's so
full
amazing.
220-page YA graphic
Wow.
novel. Yeah, about a young girl in cancer treatment, like I was in a children's hospital. So she has all these toddlers, an 8-year-old running around in treatment, and she's the only teen, which a lot of us do experience, right? I was either treated with children or I was treated with the elderly when I moved on to radiation. And then you're just like,
What?
you
Really? So it would be like
yes,
either with kids or with people like in their 70s or like
1,000%. And it's bizarre because
wow.
when the young
Uh-huh.
kids in so many amazing ways don't totally realize like this
Right.
darkness that they're going through and they're in the coloring room and playing. And so your doctors are looking at you like, well, why aren't you playing? Like, why are you complaining? And I'm like, because I'm a
Yeah.
teen, because I know what's happening to me. This is horrific. I'm dying. But then, and then the
Oh
elderly
my
who are
gosh.
sort of in the room, in the waiting room anyway, every morning irradiation were like waiting for death. They were already on the other end. And but then there's me. And I'm like, I'm a teen and my
Man.
friends are out partying and I wanna it's just a really interesting time. So the graphic novel came about of this young girl in cancer treatment in a children's hospital like I was, and the kids come alive at night and have a whole fantasy world that teaches her how to cope with her daytime. They teach her how to play mind games, which is the mind games that any of us who've been through something traumatic have had to play to survive. And it uses fantasy and magic realism to tell a deeper story. And so the humor takes us through, and hopefully there's a through line of an emotional arc that we maybe unexpectedly through reading it embody and go through. And so the graphic novel came about in wanting to build IP for this. I am really strong headed in the sense of, okay, you want me to do that? Okay, I'll do it. If that it gets me the yes, I will. Let's go. Like I am all in. Whatever can make this project the easiest yes possible, I'm there. I'm all in. And the TV show, I really like that you mentioned that a feature is usually the way about it.
Right.
I've never doubted that this is a TV show. I don't know if I have like the most intellectual reason as to why, other than there's it for me, there's so much to explore in this character and in this world. And what I'm hoping is that Bad Survivor, the short film, can show people now here at Slamdance who come to it, execs, managers, agents, everyone, audience, can show them that, oh, this is a world and there's so much more richness to explore. And one of my favorite things at screenings is people coming to me and being like, asking more questions, but what, tell me about the ending. What happens next? And I'm like, yeah, that was my goal. I want the lean in. I want the what happens next because I'm ready to tell that story.
Wow, Alex. So there's so many cool things about this. Another one is so you go to your website, you have on the head of the website, writer, director, model, and it's safe to say there's no one else at Slamdance who's coming with those credentials. Cancer survivor, it's almost like all these different groups are your one of one, one of one, one of one. Like, how do you find yourself in those situations again, like where you're jumping into independent filmmaking as just like this completely unique person with no similarities with going to film school and making my short film and all that. Was that like an intentional thing? Like you feel comfortable like doing your own thing? Is there a reason why more people aren't doing something like that?
That's a great question. And what I wonder if I even have the answer for. Yeah, I don't know why I do all the things that I do. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I probably treatment and I don't
Right.
know. But yeah, no, I seem to just keep on doing like the things that I find passionate. What is the point of surviving? Like, what is the point
Right.
of my pursuing my
Something you love.
passions?
Right.
Something I love, and with the hope and desire that I'm helping others through the process. But I've always been a creative, so I've always been a storyteller in some way. And it's interesting, modeling can be really misunderstood, of course, in so many ways, but
Right.
it is embodying, you're playing a part.
Right.
And so is filmmaking, so is acting on camera, so is directing. And I've just been with Bad Survivor, of course, like you mentioned, executive producing and co-directing with Katie North, who's incredible, and acting in it, and of course writing it. This story is so personal to me that I don't think I would have felt comfortable co-writing it, or
Right.
I
Right.
really needed to feel like this
Right.
was authentically me with my own research. It needed to feel like me. And then of course everyone else I hired, which was mostly female behind the camera
That's
crew,
awesome.
which was so incredible. Yeah, these brilliant filmmakers. Yeah. I don't know if I answered your question, but I
It's hard to
suppose
answer, like, why am I
yeah.
unique? But it's truly remarkable that you're able to step into these areas. And it's also not just like somebody who is a model is probably used to being on screen in a certain way and probably would not feel, I would say most models would probably not feel comfortable not looking at their absolute best. But you are there just, I'm going through cancer. I'm bald, whatever. That's just
Yeah,
almost just a fuck you to expectations. And I think it's something
totally.
that's really phenomenal, Alex.
Yeah, it's funny, like, on screen, of course, the night before one of our first shoot day, I didn't sleep, jet probably 2 hours just out of pure stress and also, "What
Right.
am I doing? What if no one wants to see this?" And, what's the and now I'm hiring
Right.
all this crew, and you really to be an independent filmmaker, like, you really have to lean in, you have to pick a day, you have to hire people, you gotta pay them, you gotta
Yeah.
just show up and do the absolute best you can and keep on schedule so you can film as much as you can in a short amount of time, and it's incredibly stressful and incredibly rewarding. But because I slept 2 hours the night before, I had bags under my eyes and I'm tired, and I was like, "Oh, that's perfect." It's like, my character should not look good in any way, shape, or form. I want her to look tired and exhausted and bald, and I don't want eyebrows, and we did the bald cap.
Wow.
I really debated shaving my head. But I thought maybe emotionally it'd be nice at the end of the day to be like, "Okay, I have hair, I'm healthy, I don't know, I was just debating. And for the real thing, of course, I'm gonna go all in. But yeah, I appreciate that you said that, but it is so funny because while we were filming and I was like, yeah, this is nothing about this is glamorous." I was thinking,
Right.
"Oh, at the premiere, I wanna be extra glammed up just for fun. No one's even gonna know
Right.
it was me on screen, like, no one's even gonna compare the 2 people." But yeah, I love that you noticed that.
That's awesome, Alex. So, Generation Z filmmakers, what are your thoughts? So, there's two schools of thought here. I think one is that like always filming, always have Instagram on. That's going to create great films. The other school of thought that I had one film professor say is they're not learning the basics. They're not learning like how to shoot things. We're learning about how to light things. What are your thoughts as people age into making independent films and maybe even making films through normal studio system? What kind of films do you think we're going to see from a generation that's always had their phones, always been recording short films?
I think we are gonna see the most interesting and unique stories because now in my mind, anyone can be a filmmaker. If you have access to an iPhone, you can go for it. You can just get a free app and learn how to edit and post it on TikTok. I'm super pro all of that. Obviously, like I didn't go to film school, so I'm which I love the idea of going to film school. It sounds so fabulous. But I'm more just like, go do the thing. You don't need permission to
Right.
do the thing. You don't need a professor to teach you to do like, you can teach yourself. I can Google the thing. I can review. I can truly immerse myself with my computer and with my phone. I don't know. I think what we'll see is young people trusting their instincts and not necessarily having to go through all the gatekeepers that perhaps some of
Right.
the rest of us did have to go through. And
Right.
I love that. I love that someone in a small town. I love that someone who doesn't fit in. I love that someone who's going through something really difficult and maybe is far away from quote unquote like actual Hollywood can just get Hollywood to come to them. I love it.
Love it. So we know we talked about this TV series, graphic novel. Is there anything else that if somebody watches your film, Alex, and says, I want more of her films, what would you tell them?
Ah, I love that. There are so many projects coming up. So I would say look out for the announcement for the graphic novel that'll be announced
Okay, awesome.
here. Yeah, look out for Bad TV series. Please follow me on Instagram and just get update. Yeah, there's just like I have this theory that sometimes if we've been through intense trauma, we can often get stuck in my mind in a good way in the age we were in when that
Right.
happened. And so for me,
Completely.
I'm forever a 19-year-old and I really love and enjoy telling stories about teens and young adults in all these different mediums, right? Whether it's writing op-eds and essays, whether it's graphic novels, whether it's short films and TV series. So really for me, anyone following to see what's next, it's really always going to be about young people and teen
That's
rebellion,
awesome.
hopefully told with authenticity and dark humor and heart. That's really my mission.
Love that, Alex. So, indie film podcast, love hyping other people's projects. Seeing that if you go to your Instagram, you'll see you hyping all sorts of other people. And sounds like you're such a supportive friend to other artists, which I think is so cool. So, two-part question. Is there any film, I'm sure all of them, but is there any specific film at Slamdance you're especially excited to go to or meet the director? And then also, Is there an indie film or filmmaker that you wish more people knew about outside of Slamdance?
Yeah, so it's funny with my filmmaker pass at Slamdance, I have reserved almost every single slot. Let's see if I can fit it in. 'Cause I
It's
am
a lot of movie.
so
It's a lot of
excited.
movies, Alex.
It's a lot of movies. It's a lot of I'm so interested in short films. So Bad Survivor is slotted in the unstoppable short film category, which are stories and storytellers with visible and invisible disabilities, that these sorts of stories being put on a pedestal being told, which is really cool at Slamdance. So there's a short film called Noggin. It's an animated short film in the unstoppable
Ooh,
short category by Case Jernigan, and I cannot wait to see it. He is a young person with MS, and he created this film by himself through
wow.
art that he makes in his studio. It's just, I really can't. The trailer already nearly put me in tears, so I can't wait to see it. So I can't wait to meet and talk to him, and he's in my everyone we do the filmmakers Q&A afterwards. We really cool to hear their stories. I'm sure I'll be so distracted by them that once the mic comes to me, I'll be like, "Wait, what?" But yeah, they're so cool. They're so cool. I can't wait to see them.
Well, I've loved this conversation so much. It's really, I think anybody who watches Bad Survivor will be inspired and excited about following your journey. So, film is Bad Survivor. Alex Dvorak, thanks so much for joining me on the podcast. It's been fantastic.
Thank you. This is so wonderful.